Hi, it's Lucy here. My last video, I created that card and I asked you if you wanted to see me create with the rest of that 12 by 12 paper, and a lot of you said yes please, so here it is. Now I did actually only have two pieces left because I used two of the pieces on that particular card, but I managed to squeeze out three cards with the half of the 12 by 12 paper that I had left anyway, although I am using this sheet as well. So I'm just doing my usual and sticking it down, not measuring. You can die cut it, you can use your cutter, and this is just sometimes the easiest way, especially if I'm videoing. That way I don't have to keep stopping and starting the video. So with this card, I originally made one fairly similar and I really liked how it turned out, and I haven't done it on video before, so I will show it later so that you can see the two different types. But I'm just cutting these. They're about 2 centimeters each. They don't have to be perfect. And in actual fact, I was trying to figure out the halfway through so that I could cut these at the halfway mark, but I miscalculated. Doesn't matter. I realize as soon as I've cut it, but I'll just change it up a little bit. So you will see where they're a little bit more even in the other card that I made, but it didn't really matter. I'm going to just tear off a little bit of these longer pieces or cut it so that it's not quite so long. So now I'm just going to use my distress tool. This is a Heidi Swap one. I know some people have asked me in the past because I do use it fairly often, but you can use any distressing tool, and if you don't have a distressing tool, you can actually just use your scissors as well. So I'm going around the outs, just on the long sides of it, and then I'm tearing off the ends. I want it to be a bit of a rustic type look. So I'm just using some of my very thin foam tape, and that way it sticks out off the page, and I'm just going to center the middle one, and that way then the others I can just space out as much as I please. So you can have them butting up against each other, or you can leave a little bit of space in between like this. I do like the background, the geometric. I'm not sure how easily you can see it's a triangular sort of pattern paper, and it just gives some interest. You can also use an embossing folder if you wanted to as well, so that the background isn't too in your face, but you know, it has some interest. So I've just cut up some twine there as well, and just putting it in a circular sort of motion, and I can just move it around as I need to afterwards. I'm going to just fussy cut these leaves. I like a bit of white around them, like a bit of a white border, but I don't like it to be too thick. So I tend to just, most of the time, I'll just cut it a little bit. I do have a scan and cut, but by the time you fuss around, sometimes it's not worth it. It depends. If you have a whole 12 by 12 sheet that can be cut out at once, it's fantastic if they've got a nice black outline, but if they don't, it's a lot of trouble. So anyway, I'm just playing around with the embellishments here and just finding what I like and what I don't. It doesn't always just come naturally. It is good to just keep fiddling around until you're actually happy with the outcome of it before sticking it down. I don't like to not like my card at the end of it, so I do tend to just switch things up and if I don't feel like it's quite right. So you can use any papers that you have to create this card. You can make it feminine and put some flowers, butterflies and things on it. Or you can do like I've done here and make it more of a masculine feel. You can ink around the papers instead of distressing them if you wanted as well, which would still give that a really nice look as well. I'd love to see if anybody creates the cards that I make today, or gets inspired by them. Feel free to share them with me. I love that. Or you can always tag me as well. So I'm just going to use some of these foam dots, and I cut them up small because one, I want to save as much as possible, and also I don't need a lot. I don't want them to be seen from if you're looking at the card on the sideways, so I don't like them to be too full of foam dots on the back. So I'm just gluing everything down now, and then we can get on to the next one. I don't need to glue down the twine too much because by the time I've put these items on there, it will be glued down enough. I'm just going to make sure that the ends are glued so that, yeah, it doesn't get away from me. You'll also notice that I glue down the foam dots even though they're adhesive, but I just like to make sure that they stay in place. And then here's a common mistake. I've put it on around the wrong way on the card. So now all I'll do is cut it, and then I'll just add that to a new card front, and it just means that it'll be a little bit thicker on the card front, but that still just gives it a nice quality feel anyway, so it doesn't bother me too much. And then we can just move on from the mistake pretty easily. So I'm sure this doesn't just happen to me every now and then, especially when there was a background paper like the geometrics where it's just a one pattern, so you can't tell. So every now and then you need to just open the card just to check. So I'm just going to add some white Nuvo drops to this card, and then it'll be finished. And I hope you like how that one's turned out. And then we can get on to the next one. So here's the close-up of it. I'm just going to give it a little bit of a bang on anything, which was my tape there. And here you can see the two different ones. The other one was more even, and yeah, they both come out nice. I'll show them again at the end as well. So now I've just got a hexagon punch, and you can use a hexagon die if you have one as well. Or if you've got a scan and cut, you can put this through and get it to cut out hexagons as well. And so you can do this with scrap papers, and it doesn't have to be just the same paper. But here I'm using the one side where it's got lots of different texture on it, texture pattern. And then wherever the white part is, I'll turn it over and I'll use the checkered paper instead. So then I'm going to punch out a lot of white hexagons as well. So I don't want to use a lot of foam tape, and you certainly can go through that. And plus it's hard with foam tape to make these all even underneath. So all I'm doing is just adding them to the piece of white card, and that way then they'll stand up a little further off the page, which will make it look really nice. So I'm going to be using this rectangle die because they're not going to take over the whole card. So I'm just cutting off the edges. I want it to be fairly close so that I know how many hexagons I need to use, and I know that I need to go over most of it. Now my craft knife, it was getting a little bit blunt. I haven't changed it for a while, so I'm just showing how I change a new blade. It's very easy, and then it just cuts through like butter after that. Yeah, I do try to keep them as long as possible, the blades, but occasionally need to change them up. So now I'm just going to rearrange these hexagons on the page. It doesn't really matter too much where you place them, as long as it looks nice once you like the design. I like to make sure that I don't have any of the checkered hexagons together, and a lot of them will be on the outside anyway because I didn't have full hexagons with the checked ones because it was part of the scraps of the paper left over. So I'm just having a look at those, and then I'll glue them down once I'm happy with them. And by the time I've finished, it'll all be dry so that I can put it through my die cutting machine. So you can use really contrasting papers with this, or you can go monochromatic like I have. And you can just cut off any of the ends as well if you need a little piece like I did there. So I just realised that I need the larger rectangle die, so just like magic, I will put that through the machine, and here it is. So I'm just gluing down some of the rhinestones now. They have adhesive backing as well, but I just like to make sure that they stay on safely so that if little kids and babies were to touch it, they wouldn't come off easily. So here's the cards that I made today, and I do have one more to show because I had a little bit of the paper left over. And so here we go. I'll show you a quick one now. It's very easy, and you could use this, you could put it at the top, like I've done designs like that before, or you can center it, which I'm going to do this time. I did luckily have another sheet of this paper, a fair amount of it anyway, so I've been able to use that checkered paper again to use as the background. So I'm just going to mount it onto the white card, and so that it leaves a little bit of a border. Both of these go over the sides of the card, so that it makes it nice and easy. I'm not measuring, I'm just popping it on, and then I can just take any overhanging off again, as always. And then I feel like it just needs a sentiment there, really. It doesn't need too much more, just to make it a really nice quick card. So it actually takes only 5 minutes to make. So if you're new to card making, make the most out of the papers that you have. I absolutely love designer papers, pattern papers, and so my channel is always going to be full of, different ideas on how to use papers in a different way. So I hope you've subscribed already, and thank you to all my subscribers. I'm really trying to grow my channel, so if you love my videos and think someone else might get a kick out of them, if you could please share my channel, that would be absolutely fantastic. I love reading the comments, and liking my videos helps me. YouTube decides to show more people, and occasionally, shows a lot more people. So I've just die cut that out of some of the paper, the sentiment, and I did it with the white card as well, so that it's a little bit thicker. And now I'm adding some glossy accents, which I've put into my own little jar because I really like these metal tips. I just bought these on Amazon, really quite cheap. And so I've just added glossy accents to that. And while it's still wet, I'm going to add a little bit of glitter and just tap off the excess. And of course there'll still be a little bit of glitter around it, but I'm going to leave it until it's dried before trying to brush off any extra, or it can end up a real mess. So here's the other card, and you can find most of my cards on my Instagram page as well, which is in the description below. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye.